The 1960s, a decade of immense change and turmoil. The world was a powder keg, ready to explode at any moment. The United States and the Soviet Union were locked in a nuclear standoff, each side wary of the other's next move. This was the Cold War. Tensions were high and mistrust ran deep between the two superpowers. Nowhere was this more apparent than in America's own backyard, Cuba, a small island nation that had become a focal point of Cold War tensions. Just 90 miles off the coast of Florida, a communist revolution had taken hold, led by Fidel Castro and his supporters. This was deeply troubling to the U.S. government, which saw the spread of communism as a direct threat to its interests. The U.S. had long considered Latin America its sphere of influence, a region where it could exert its power and protect its interests. The rise of communism in Cuba was seen as a direct threat to this influence and to the security of the United States itself. The stakes were incredibly high, with the potential for nuclear conflict looming over every decision. Nuclear war was a very real possibility, and the fear of mutually assured destruction was ever present. Both superpowers were armed to the teeth, with enough nuclear weapons to destroy the world many times over. The threat of mutually assured destruction hung over everything, influencing political decisions and public sentiment alike. The US government was desperate to find a way to counter what it saw as Soviet aggression and the spread of communism. They feared the spread of communism throughout Latin America, believing it would destabilize the region and threaten US interests. They felt they needed to act decisively, to take bold steps to protect their sphere of influence and prevent the spread of communism. This fear and paranoia would lead to one of the most shocking plans in American history. Operation Northwoods, a proposed series of false flag operations intended to justify military intervention in Cuba. At the heart of this story is Fidel Castro, a figure who would become a central character in the Cold War drama. A charismatic revolutionary, Castro had seized power in Cuba in 1959, capturing the imagination of many with his bold promises of reform and equality. He overthrew the US-backed dictator Fulgencio Batista, whose regime was marked by corruption and oppression. This sent shockwaves through Washington, as the US had long considered Cuba within its sphere of influence. Castro's communist leanings were no secret, and his rhetoric increasingly aligned with Marxist ideology. He quickly forged an alliance with the Soviet Union, solidifying his position and gaining a powerful ally. This alliance was a major turning point, as it brought the Cold War to America's doorstep. The Soviets now had a foothold in the Western Hemisphere, just 90 miles from the US coast. The US saw Castro as a puppet of Moscow, a direct threat to its national security. They believed he posed an existential threat to American interests, both in the region and globally. The US government was determined to remove Castro from power, seeing him as a destabilizing force. They tried various covert operations, including assassination attempts, sabotage, and propaganda campaigns. These all ended in failure, as Castro proved to be a resilient and cunning adversary. Castro's grip on power seemed only to strengthen, as he rallied his people against the perceived American threat. This only fueled the paranoia in Washington, leading to more desperate measures. The US felt increasingly boxed in, with few options left to counter Castro's influence. They felt they needed a bold, decisive action to counter Castro, something that would change the balance of power. Operation Northwoods was their answer, a controversial plan that would have involved staging attacks to justify military intervention in Cuba. Operation Northwoods was a top-secret plan, shrouded in secrecy and hidden from the public eye for decades. It was developed by the US military in 1962 during a time of intense Cold War tensions. The plan was audacious, to say the least, involving high-level military strategists and top officials. It called for the CIA to carry out a series of covert operations, meticulously planned to avoid detection. The goal? To create a pretext for a US invasion of Cuba, a nation seen as a significant threat at the time. The plan read like something out of a spy thriller. It included proposals to deceive the public and manipulate international opinion. One of the most shocking proposals was to stage the sinking of a US Navy ship in Guantanamo Bay. Another was to orchestrate terrorist attacks on American soil and blame them on Cuba, creating a false narrative of aggression. They even planned to simulate an attack on a US military base using Cuban aircraft, further escalating tensions. The plan was designed to shock the American public, creating a sense of fear and urgency. The aim was to create a wave of public outrage against Cuba, galvanizing support for military action. This would then justify a full-scale U.S. military invasion, with the public and international communities backing. The Joint Chiefs of Staff, the highest military authority in the U.S., reviewed and approved the plan, setting the stage for potential conflict. The details of Operation Northwoods are chilling. The plan went into great depth about how to create a convincing pretext for war. They considered using real American citizens as casualties in these staged attacks. One proposal involved sinking an empty U.S. ship. They would then blame it on Cuban forces and hold a fabricated funeral for lost sailors. Another involved hijacking a remote-controlled drone. They would then paint it with Cuban markings and use it to attack the U.S. naval base at Guantanamo Bay. The plan also called for a campaign of disinformation. They would use propaganda to turn American public opinion against Castro. The sheer audacity and cynicism of Northwoods are breathtaking. It showed how far the U.S. government was willing to go to achieve its objectives. Section 5. A moral minefield. The ethical implications of Northwoods. Operation Northwoods was not just a military plan, it was a profound ethical and moral failure. The plan called for the U.S. government to deceive its own people. They were willing to sacrifice American lives to justify a war based on lies. This was a betrayal of the very principles of democracy and freedom. It undermined the trust between the government and the governed. The plan raised serious questions about the use of military power. It showed how easily fear and paranoia could lead to reckless decisions. Operation Northwoods was a stark reminder of the dangers of unchecked power. Section 6. The brink of disaster. How close did we come? The question many people ask is, how close did Operation Northwoods come to being executed? The answer is unsettling. The Joint Chiefs of Staff unanimously approved the plan. They then sent it to President John F. Kennedy for his approval. This was a pivotal moment. The fate of Cuba, and potentially the world, hung in the balance. Kennedy was known for his cool head and sound judgment. He had already faced down the Soviets during the Cuban Missile Crisis. Would he be willing to approve such a morally reprehensible plan? Section 7. Kennedy's rejection, a defining moment. In a decision that would have profound implications, Kennedy rejected Operation Northwoods. He refused to endorse a plan that would deceive the American people and potentially lead to war based on lies. Kennedy's rejection was a testament to his integrity and his commitment to ethical leadership. He understood the dangers of such a plan. He knew that even a successful false flag operation would have lasting consequences. Kennedy's decision was a turning point. It prevented a catastrophic escalation of the Cold War. It also highlighted the importance of civilian control over the military. Section 8. Echoes of Northwoods, conspiracy theories, and public mistrust. Despite being rejected, Operation Northwoods had a lasting impact. The plan remained classified for many years. It was only revealed to the public in the 1990s. The revelation of Northwoods shocked the nation. It fueled conspiracy theories about government cover-ups. It eroded public trust in government institutions. Even today, Operation Northwoods serves as a reminder of the dangers of unchecked power and the importance of government transparency. Section 9. Modern Geopolitics. Lessons from a Dark Chapter. Operation Northwoods may seem like a relic of the Cold War, a distant reminder of a bygone era, but its lessons remain relevant today. In an age of disinformation and fake news, the story of Northwoods serves as a cautionary tale. It shows how easily governments can manipulate public opinion to achieve their goals. The plan is a stark reminder of the importance of a free and independent press. It highlights the need for critical thinking and skepticism towards government narratives. Section 10. The Dangers of Deception. A cautionary tale for our times. Operation Northwoods is a chilling example of how fear and paranoia can lead to dangerous decisions. It shows how quickly ethical boundaries can be crossed in the name of national security. The plan reminds us that even in democracies, the potential for abuse of power is always present. It underscores the need for constant vigilance and a commitment to democratic values. Section 11, Safeguarding Democracy, Transparency and Accountability. The legacy of Operation Northwoods is a complex one. It is a story of deceit and dangerous ambition, but it is also a story of courage and principled leadership. John F. Kennedy's rejection of the plan stands as a testament to the importance of ethical decision-making. It reminds us that the ends never justify the means. Operation Northwoods is a story we must never forget. It serves as a reminder of the fragility of democracy and the importance of safeguarding our values. It is a call to action for all citizens to demand transparency and accountability from their leaders. Only through vigilance and active participation can we prevent such dangerous plans from ever being considered again.